That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing. I'm Braden.
I'm Dan.
I'm Zell.
And I'm Andrew.
We're an ad-free podcast.
And we'd sure like to keep it that way.
So head over to patreon.com/Alien Theorists Podcast,
where you're going to find 50 plus hours of bonus content.
Or head to alientheoristtheorizing.live,
where you'll find tons of cool merch.
And links to our live shows.
Thanks for listening.
And enjoy the show!
The Catholic Church claims that extraordinary demonic activity can take 6 different forms, which may warrant exorcism. Possession, where single or even multiple demons may take control of a person's body without their knowledge or consent, a case where perhaps a person might flippantly ask spirits or the devil to aid them in some physical labor, and that person may exhibit extraordinary strength. Obsession, where a person may become irrational at times and experience horrid nightmares which can lead to suicidal ideation. Oppression, where certain misfortunes can afflict the victim, such as a series of fires on a family farm. External pain caused by demonic forces, excessive bleeding, or painful marks on the body. Infestation, affecting objects inside the home, these objects moving on their own or disappearing and reappearing. Finally, subjection, where a person voluntarily submits to a demonic force. Any one of these occurrences are meant to require an exorcism by a Catholic priest. But what if a victim shows signs of all of the different forms of possession? A case so serious that the world-famous pair of paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren, were intimately involved. What could a lifetime of demonic possession drive a man to do? Join the theorists as they put on their ponchos to dodge possessed projectile vomiting in The Possession of Maurice, Theríault.
Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing. Case file 118? 17. Enjoy the show. We're going to talk about the possession or exorcism of Maurice Theríault. I think that's how you say his name.
Theríault?
That's Braden.
I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
I'm Andrew.
Boom. Got the crew. First time recording after pod week.
Yeah, what a difference.
It's been a task.
It's not smooth.
Definitely not smooth today.
As you can see, and it's not even like we're recording separately again. It's like we went from the best possible setup to now the worst.
Yeah.
Me and Andrew are both out of town. I'm in a hotel with the worst internet. Andrew's by himself, which is always a bad idea. So
I don't even know if I turned my computer on. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah. He doesn't know. Oh, there's wires. I can't see him. I'm surprised they're not around his neck, to be honest. Zell, I don't know if you got any buttons ready, but why don't we get into some space news?
Hey.
Hey.
All right, so officially announced the other day, the official truck of Mars was announced, the Cybertruck
I think it was cool.
by Tesla.
Is that official?
The official truck of Mars, dude. That's going to be an official vehicle of Mars.
Did
That's why it's in
Martians
space
vote on
news.
this?
No. God, that was a bad press conference. I felt bad.
I didn't watch the
so
whole thing.
cringy.
No, they
Yeah.
said. Well, they explained why it happened though. Why the window broke because they had been.
I get why it did. They've been doing it all day. They've been,
Yeah, they said they'd been slamming it with a sledgehammer like all day, and they cracked the base.
And so when they finally got to it, it just
that was the time. Yeah,
Oh, such a bummer.
it was. It's a pretty ugly truck too. I gotta say.
200,000 ordered.
No, it's fine. It's good. Like
I think
cool.
it's dope.
God, it was ugly.
You're ugly.
It did remind me of the warthog from.
There
from
it
Halo,
is.
though.
You see it?
No.
Oh, it's all blurry. I'll get rid of that.
That's going about as smoothly as the unveiling of the truck itself. That's good.
You know what? It looks like, you know what the best part is? The truck's going to come into focus and then you're not going to be sure if it's done rendering because that's how bad the truck looks.
The truck looks like it's out of a fucking N64 game.
It
Yeah,
does.
it looks
Shows how
like James
fucking cool
Bond
it looks.
from GoldenEye driving it around.
Looks fucking cool.
Yeah.
Looks like it's
No,
straight
it just
out
looks
of.
like the rendering wasn't done properly.
Looks like something
Yeah.
fucking Decker would drive. Blade Runner.
Yeah,
It's cool. though.
that's a good one.
Just fucking cool.
I got NASA has found sugar in meteorites that crashed to Earth.
We just they just seen your face for the first time. If you're watching the live stream, Braden's camera his internet's so shitty, so we had to take a quick selfie.
that. I can't fucking
Here we go. Here we go.
I thought I said something funny, and so I was like, "Oh, what did I say? That's getting such a good pop." So it's good to know. I just saw it too.
No, it's just your face. That's it.
That's a rough one. Yeah, that's after Pod Week face.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So NASA has found some sugar in meteorites, and I would like it in my water, please. So no, as I said that,
Little
my
Edgar humor for you there.
What?
What?
Little Edgar humor for you there.
No, sorry, boys. My internet fucking crapped out. I couldn't hear nothing. It just went so silent. Yeah, my internet's so bad, so I can't scroll down because it doesn't load the rest of the page. So that headline is all you get. They
all
found some
you
sugar
get.
in some meteorites that hit Earth. Hashtag look it up.
Really? That's what
this
we're
one's a
stopping
cool
with?
one. No, I got more. Just that page didn't load.
Okay.
Astronomers have found a galactic merger with 3 supermassive black holes.
So should
of
I
the
invest in
myriad
that
galaxies.
stock or what?
Yeah,
merger.
100%.
Should probably buy stock.
Buy low, sell higher. Sell high, buy low. Why don't get into stocks? Of the myriad galaxies we've seen in the night, NGC 6240 has always stood out for its peculiar shape and unusual infrared brightness. It was thought to be the result of 2 galaxies colliding. Until now. It's not 2, but 3 galaxies merging. So we always knew something was up with it. We figured it was 2, but with recent science, detected it's 3. Cool stuff. India, they lost, if you remember, we talked about it. Their moon lander, they lost contact with it. They've now admitted it crashed. 100% crashed.
Gone.
Yeah, they said they had an issue with braking rockets, so it went in hot, did a hard landing. So 100% broke. It's done.
Gone.
Bummer.
Speaking of things breaking in space, SpaceX Starship prototype burst doing pressurization testing. I don't know if you guys watched a video of that new, the Starship, the big, cool chrome looking one
Yeah.
from SpaceX. They did a pressurized test and the whole top exploded on it. The video was pretty cool. So if you hadn't seen that, find that on YouTube anywhere. That's all I had. That's all I had for space news.
I wonder if
Some good space news.
Wait, here it is. Here it is.
Anyone else have any?
Here it is. Watch
Here's
this
the
again.
video.
See? Here's the video. Oh, it just pops its lid. God damn. Gone. Too bad. On the topic of SpaceX, SpaceX will launch Mighty Mice, Wild Physics, and more to space station next month.
Are those bands?
Yes, man, you nailed it. No, they're sending up.
Sweet intergalactic rock bands.
They're sending
Yay.
up for the 19th cargo mission to the International Space Station. Sending up, what is it? 2,200 pounds of supplies and about 3,000 pounds of scientific instruments, mice, which they're going to test on. What do you call it? What do they call it when you lose muscle in space?
Like
Atrophy.
Yeah, so
atrophy.
they're trying to combat space like zero G like muscle atrophy. You can start with mice. So those mice, thanks for your sacrifice.
We salute you.
We salute you, space mice. That's all I had. You touched on everything else I had there, so perfect. Anybody else? Andrew, you don't got any?
I'm gonna
you don't have
be-
any
I'm gonna
riveting
be
space
impressed.
news?
I'm going to be impressed if I can even complete a sentence with that fucking picture up.
I know it's hard to live stream with just Braden's face in this. That's too good. I fix your face, Braden.
Yeah. Sugar. Water. Yeah. Well, that's what happens. Donate more on Patreon. Get me out. Get me out.
Get him out of work.
Get me out of work, and I'll fix my face all the time.
You're going to try and get a face transplant out of the deal, but all right.
Okay. Yeah.
We're already trying for
not
hair
out of the realm of
transplant.
possibility.
I got a really wide face, so to get a new face, they'd have to stretch something on. It'd
Two
look
faces.
bad either way.
So
Yeah,
two
two
faces,
faces.
split right up the middle.
Yeah. I can't even look at that picture. I gotta turn it off.
Okay, let's just
okay,
do it.
Maurice.
Let's do it on the fly. Turn your camera on. I gotta fuck. We gotta see. This is ridiculous.
No, it's gonna be bad. Just leave it up.
Oh, fuck. All right.
Maurice Theríault.
Theríault?
Theríault.
Theríault?
I think that's how you say
Theríault?
it. Or
Theríault is what I've heard.
Theríault?
it 100% is not Theríault.
I think it might be Theríault. It's French
Oh,
inspired.
yeah. Okay, Theríault. I thought he said like Theríault.
No.
No, you were incorrect there.
Theríault. Okay, yeah, I get that. Or Frenchie, as he was nicknamed. Tough upbringing for this. Tough upbringing for allegedly for this guy.
Yeah, rough go.
Little bit of a
Allegedly.
rough childhood. Where was he born, Dan?
Maurice was born in is it Massachusetts? Sorry. I can't remember where he was born. I didn't have that up in front of me.
I think where's New England?
Yeah, New England. Massachusetts is
Massachusetts.
part of New
All right.
England.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just knew he was born and lived most of his life in
Coming
New
out
England.
swinging, boys. We're coming out swinging.
Yeah, this is a post-pod week just blues here. So he, born to a family. He was the oldest of 15 siblings.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's some farm life, man. His dad, by all accounts, violent man, and would constantly beat little Frenchie, Maurice, beat him, abuse him, pulled him out of school in grade 3 to work on the farm, and just, by all accounts, was ruthless towards him. Sometime when he was 10, you can never find solid information on what was saw, but Maurice alleged that because he was always worked so hard and beaten by his father when he wasn't doing a good job, that he was really into, like, he wanted to figure out how to do a better job so he wouldn't get beat so bad. So he followed his father into the farm one time when he was about 10 years old, and he saw something. Never gets into what, but it's alleged that, people say maybe bestiality, maybe sexual abuse towards one of his siblings. What we do know is that whatever happened in that barn that day, Maurice was then subjected to it numerous times after. If it was sexual abuse to himself, not known. But all we know is that whatever he saw that day was kind of pushed upon him then moving forward.
It sounds like he was forced to join in with his dad once he was caught spying on it as well.
Yeah, I mean...
Depends what story you're reading, but yeah.
Everything I read had to do with an animal.
Gross.
Yeah, I read a lot of bestiality stuff, him with chickens or goats or whatever, but I did read a couple that maybe thought people, just because of future crimes and stuff, that maybe he was abusing one of his Maurice's siblings, or he just abused him that day in the barn, and that's where the sexual abuse started.
Right. So why is this significant? Why are we talking about this guy?
Okay, well, there's a great... I talk about this part early on because there's a great Canadian show called Northern Mysteries that gets into this case, and I'm only bringing up this early part where he, I think it's important to the story to later on determine if he was possessed or maybe suffering from really bad mental health. But in this Northern Mysteries, right after this scene in this documentary, the narrator goes, "And after that day, Maurice Frenchy Theríault asked the devil for help. And he did not like he says something after and he did not like the answer." Like he just does this sexy
it's and the devil did help.
And the devil did. But he does this weird ooh, and the devil did help. This weird, great. You can find on YouTube, hilarious, good Canadian show. But anyways, so. Dan, you want to take... So what happens after he's a child? Because not much alleging possession when he's a kid. Just bad shit happened.
Right. So, stuff didn't really start to get kind of crazy in the Theríault household until about the May of 1982, where most of there are 3 mysterious fires broke out on their farm. And at one point, at first it was at a storage shed that was about 250 yards from the house. And Maurice said he had been working close by the yard and hadn't seen anyone near that shed. So these fires that started and ended, people did suspect that Maurice was perhaps guilty of arson, but they couldn't really find any proof.
Right.
So after this, stuff kind of started to happen. A lot of it is reported by the family, and I think it's his wife at the time, Nancy. He had 2 wives before, I guess. This was his 3rd wife.
Yeah, his 3rd wife, and he had brought over, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, it's either 5 or 7 kids from the previous marriages. Him and Nancy had 1 child, and they had no children together, but Maurice, it was either 5 or 7 he brought over from the previous marriages.
Right. So at this point, people kind of put this along the line that the possession, if you're down with that, the possession that was starting to happen was kind of going through its final stage, which you had other stages of kind of strange things kind of happen to Maurice, because there's kind of this narrative that goes along with while he was growing up, kind of strange thing has happened. His father killed himself and his mother by gunshot, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? When he was his father was 69 at the time and had kind of, by accounts, kind of went a little nuts and had murdered Maurice's mother while she was in bed, and then turned the gun on himself and put the barrel in his mouth and pulled the trigger.
Jeez.
So.
But they're saying throughout his childhood, I guess, one of the original reasons why he potentially struck up a deal with, let's say, a demon or a devil was so he could try and keep up with the amount of chores and impress his dad, make his dad happy. So there were reports of him, you know what I mean? We're talking a day later being able to lift things as heavy as 300, 400 pounds at the age of 16. And they reported him knowing things that he had no business knowing. like ancient history, all these type of things. And this is a relatively uneducated kid that's been out of school since grade 3, right?
Right, which are
Now,
hallmarks of some cases of possession, where it's like having knowledge beyond what you normally would have. Seemingly superhuman strength are definitely, symptoms that go with possession.
Yeah, because isn't it claimed that he can like move fucking cars and shit? Allegedly.
Well, yeah. The one thing, there's a great video of a guy, and he says that Maurice lifts this stone statue with his fingertips, and he's like, I couldn't even lift this thing. And you can find that, first off, this guy who makes this claim looks like he's never lifted a paperweight in his life. And then you see a picture of this statue that he's alleged to have lifted. And it's like, dude, it's a little taller than your belly button. I guarantee Andrew could throw that thing in the air. Like, I was not impressed at all. I was like, well, this isn't impressive at all. I was like, this other guy, like, you got to remember, Maurice is like, he's lived a hard life. He's been like a farmhand, worked on a farm his whole life. He's that, they farm strong, man. He's farm strong. So the fact that he's lifting this like little statue, and this guy's like, I can't lift that. And he's this guy who's saying that's a big guy, but he's a huge fat butterball. And I'm like, this guy's probably never lifted anything in his entire life. So I'm like, that aspect of it didn't impress me at all.
The big claims of like everything I've read, they always estimate between 300 and 400 pounds. And like, you know what I mean? That's being heavy, but not for someone who's regularly doing manual labor, right? Like, remember when we started deadlifting for the first time, when I brought you to the gym, you deadlifted 315 pounds on your first time in the gym, and it really wasn't that strenuous for you.
Yeah, but just before I went into the gym, I didn't disclose to you that I said, Devil, I'm going to need some help here to impress my friend.
Grant me some of that.
If you're out there listening.
Went down to the crossroads.
Yeah.
Played your fiddle. And
there is a piece. One of the people who had been working with Maurice during this kind of this whole episode, Maurice kind of reported that he said that when he would do these kind of things, like whenever he would do some type of strenuous work that he didn't think that would he be able to do, he would ask the spirits for help, and that would give him the strength to do whatever he needed to get done. So that's all. Wait, this all started with him asking a demon for extra strength so he could do chores to please his dad.
No, I think it was because he wanted
help
to
me lift this bale of hay up here over them shoulders.
I'm not 100%.
Give me strength.
I don't think he was specifically asking the devil for help, but
he was reaching out to something.
He was reaching out to something.
Well, you know what? I don't blame him though. I would be praying to whatever demons or angels or whoever I could, so I wouldn't have to go back in that fucking barn with my dad.
Now, did he open all portals to the gates of hell? Because I did that just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but we had the circle up.
Oh, we had protection circle.
Yeah,
right.
We had protection circle.
Now, other weird stuff that was happening in the house. This is like teleportation, where like he would
the hologram
Nancy,
Maurice.
his wife, would like she would see him get up out of his chair from chilling and walk, and she'd follow him for some reason. She'd follow him like up the stairs, and he would go into these like almost trances, and she'd follow him up the stairs, and he'd turn into the bedroom, and she'd turn and he'd be gone. And then she'd go, well, that's weird. She'd go back downstairs, and lo and behold, there he is sitting on the couch. And when she'd go, wait, how'd you get down here? And he said, what do you mean? I've been here the whole time. Like, I haven't left. So that would freak the shit out of Nancy. And then it only gets weirder from there.
Yeah, there were multiple accounts of that kind of stuff happening where people reported seeing two, like it happened with, I believe, like one of his, at least one of his daughters reported seeing two Maurices. She saw one like go out the door, walk out into the yard, and then without his coat, and then she went out to go yell at him to be like, hey, go, Nancy told her to go, hey, take your coat. And then goes out there and he's gone. And then he walks back in he walks in like where he had just walked before, walks out. And like and then look back outside and he's not there.
Have you guys ever seen that movie, The Time Traveler's Wife?
No.
Well, and I think that's the movie. And this guy goes back in time, and every now and then he'll overlap with himself. so he'll be in the same spot. And there's one time it just made me think of this barn scene of Maurice walking in, and he's actually just a time travel, and that's why you're seeing two Maurices in this movie. He goes back in time and he's like chilling in the car with his like an older version of himself, and he's like, yeah, all right, and he just gives himself a blowjob, and I'm like, that's what Maurice saw in this barn here.
Wait, where are you taking this case?
What is this?
Where are you taking
Dude,
this case?
it's the honest.
God damn it.
That's what I'm saying. Is the time travel just made me think of that stupid movie plot, and that's what he saw in this barn. Anyways, I don't know. It surprised me.
Like, man, I wish I could get possessed by demons so I could give myself blowjobs. Like,
yeah. No, that's just
the exact definition of doppelgangers. That's good.
Yeah.
There's a whole new meaning to go fuck yourself.
The exact
like, what? Like,
definition of a doppelganger is when a future version of yourself comes back and you give he or she some type of blowjob.
Fellatio.
Filial fellatio. That's the definition of doppelganger.
Look it up.
Sure.
Hashtag look it up. It's fucking this real thing.
If it wasn't, it is now.
So they're seeing two Maurices, and then we get into, he starts getting like Nancy will find him like in the bathroom, in the fetal position, like covered in blood, or blood running out of his eyes,
Right.
or on numerous occasions with. I kept reading several eyewitnesses, but they never give out names or who saw it. Their cross, their crucifix on the wall would be bleeding. The little hanging Jesus would be bleeding. So stuff like that was starting to happen.
Yeah, I personally don't know how Maurice had so much blood, because it seems like every day the dude was just bleeding out his eyeballs, bleeding out his mouth. Laying down in a pool of blood, or something was happening to him, and it's like, what?
Andrew, what
Get all this blood?
Do you know? Is there like how much blood can a person make in a day? Say, like if you lost a bunch one day, could you make it back for the next?
Sorry, say it again.
Like say we're just talking about how many times this guy was caught with like blood running out, like he like bled a lot. Dan's just saying, like, how much blood could you lose and then like regain it for the next day?
I think it's if you lose something, you can survive with losing it something like 40% of your blood. But like, what are we talking about here? It's like what I'm assuming is like
Cuts.
The blood is like tearing from his eyes. It's not like arterially spraying out of his fucking body, right? Like,
No, I just
coming out of his
imagine he
eyes,
had
nose,
running tears.
mouth. Like, it's
well, let's be honest. The guy fucking lives on a farm. He's out fucking slaughtering a pig and taking a fucking pint full of blood and
they grow
stashing it so he
tomatoes on his farm. Like, I don't think they had pigs.
They had no livestock
they
at all.
I don't think so. Most of it was a tomato farm. That's what he was known for, was selling tomatoes.
All right, the guy's got tomato juice coming from his eyes.
Right.
Man, all farmers have like chickens and probably pigs. At least
Yeah.
a couple.
And then there was bleeding. There was a lot of bleeding from the eyes. Yeah, so they had a lot of that stuff, but what also was remarkable was he had a lot of, there were a lot of cases where he had aversions to certain, blessed and holy objects. There's at least one example was Robert Manning, who was a landscape contractor and was a friend of the Theríaults for over, had been over to their house on many occasions over the years. And he came to visit them after he had heard about this whole thing after Theríault at this point had become popular. Like they knew about it. There were news stories being printed about him in the Weekly World News, National Examiner, tabloids, things like that. The guy was kind of a phenomenon for a hot second. So Robert came to visit them, and he had said that he had brought them a vial of holy water from St. Joseph's in Canada. And he offered it to
the good Canadian holy water. That's the
Canadian
good stuff.
holy water.
That's the good stuff right there.
Yeah.
And he offered it to Maurice, and Maurice said, "No, I don't want it." And Nancy was in the room at the same time, and she said, "No, look what he brought all the way from Canada. Like, you should take it." And Nancy pushed the vial toward him, calling him Frenchie, Frenchie, take it. He said, no, I don't want it now. And so Nancy took the water, says, here, I'll just put some on you. And they said that she sprinkled the holy water on Maurice's forehead. And they said the instant that the drops hit his head, Maurice's body went stiff and blood began to seep from his mouth.
Some powerful Canadian holy water right there.
Yeah. So there were a lot of those examples of him being having a certain aversion. in the wonderful Northern Mysteries documentary about this case, they said at one point they were going to the local church, a local Catholic church rectory, and there was a stairs outside the building which were notably steep. And when they got to the top of the stairs, Maurice, almost flung backwards, somersaulted backwards down the stairs, and then, hit the bottom. Nancy went down to see what was wrong with him, and he wasn't even hurt. Couldn't even enter the church.
That's fucked up. So now what? What happens now? Because he read he ends up having multiple exorcisms.
Well, they call him the big guns.
Yeah, so he's nationally famous at this point. So everybody kind of knows him. So and the town's not really sure what to do. Nancy doesn't know what to do, and the local church has actually kind of not gotten into it, but people are telling me like, well, what are you going to do? And at least one person, I think it was Reverend Walter Harris, who was the spokesman for the Boston Archdiocese, he expressed a reluctance to kind of take on exorcisms, because at this point, he's quoted saying that in my 21 years of the priesthood, I've never seen or heard of a genuine case of possession. He felt that the advancement of psychology kind of puts a whole new view on these kinds of cases. So he didn't really want to push for an exorcism or anything like that. So enter the world famous Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Dun, 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 dun. They're famous paranormal investigators, aren't they? Not pretty much,
right?
They're the ghost hunters.
I'm sorry, was that scam artists? Did you say?
No, Andrew.
No, they were American paranormal investigators, and
okay,
the OGs,
right?
OGs.
Ed was a self-taught, self-professed demonologist. He's a author, lecturer, and Lorraine was said to be a clairvoyant and also a light trance medium. Who they work together, so they're the perfect pair, right?
Of course.
They founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, which is the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. So that's pretty neat. They're, one of their famous, or what kind of made them famous, was they were one of the first to investigate the Amityville haunting, which was made famous by the movies, which are pretty great. Get out and stuff like that.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
When I look at Lorraine Warren, I automatically think of Tangina from Poltergeist, the film Poltergeist.
Yeah, okay.
That's exactly what I think too.
Clean.
I have exorcised the demon.
Like that's what I always think about. Carolyn, don't go into the light, Carolyn. Like, that's what I fucking think about.
At one point, so they're so convinced that Maurice is the real deal and have no ulterior motives. They bring him to a doctor in town. And this doctor gives him a checkup because, they're letting him know that every now and then he's got crosses are starting to appear scratched into his skin and stuff. And this medical professional at the time says there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing physically wrong with him. There's nothing mentally wrong with him. He's completely fine. And Ed loses his shit on the doctor, saying like he doesn't know anything and that they're going to go get another opinion because this doctor's a quack, and he obviously isn't listening to the struggles that Maurice and his family are having with whatever's happening to Maurice. So they leave, and shortly after leaving, for some reason that I couldn't figure out why, Maurice in the car somehow takes off his shirt and reveals that he's got a fresh cross scratched into his back. I don't know why, if he just said, oh, look, I have a scratch now or whatever. But they ran right back to the doctor's office to show the doctor, who was not impressed either way at this
why would
new
he
cross.
Yeah, we just ripped around the corner and etched a quick fucking cross on the back of this guy.
Yeah, so he was like...
Can I go in on these fucking Warrens for a quick sec?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Get on the Warrens.
So, like Dan said, these guys were famous for the Amityville Horror. Before that, in the 50s and 60s, they were exclusively known as like the fucking Ghostbusters, basically. Okay. Turn 1977. Right around the exact fucking time that The Exorcist came out, all of a sudden, ghosts turned to demons and they started fucking jumping all over this exorcism train. Before that, before the movie came out, they hadn't done fucking one single exorcism. Now, that's their bread and butter, right? And then all you have to do is go through their fucking their history. Basically, look at, just for examples, the Amityville Horror. What ended up happening with that? Fucking book deal, movie deals, right? Go look at a Haunting in Connecticut, where basically it was about a teenager named Arnie Johnson who murdered his landlord while possessed by demons, supposedly. He had inherited this demon from a little boy, and the Warrens were called in to exorcise these demons. Well, this guy's brother, who... they tried to get off of this murder rap, wound up suing the Warrens on the grounds that his brother was actually mentally ill and not possessed at all, and that he needed help from doctors. Right? Apparently, the Warrens promised this guy's family that they'd become millionaires if they just went along with the fucking plot.
Well, and see, that's a good point to bring up now at this point. Why would, maybe even not that much money, but there's a reason why times might be tough for Maurice at this stage in his life, 1982, because in 1976, he was convicted of the rape of a minor and was serving 5 years probation. So I'm sure that really hurt his job prospects at the time.
Well, I'm looking right now. I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different cases that these Warrens worked on that ended up with fucking book deals and massive publicity stunts.
Well,
right?
and that's the thing, is that
something shady.
No one's I think everyone can agree that they've sensationalized all their work. So if there was any hint of truth, you've got to look at everything they write as BS because they've sensationalized so many of what they say happened.
Seems like good business, though. Man,
and then you look at fucking old Frenchie's case, and you fucking look at the list, the actual list of the fucking the things that you need to check off for a fucking possession. And it's like fucking textbook. Oh yeah, speaking in tongues, being at two places at once, fucking superhuman strength. You know what I mean? The only thing he's fucking missing is puking fucking pea juice over on all his fucking family members.
He did do that.
It's just, it's fucking comical.
He projectile puked on his family? I mean?
He didn't projectile vomit, but they said that a couple of times there was some sort of yellow substance leaking from his mouth during some of the exorcisms. Sorry.
And they obviously have a motive into this, and like Andrew was saying with them,
yeah, they want to exorcise the demons.
They want to exorcise their bank accounts.
Yeah, 100%. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't something happening to Maurice, because he was you have claims from before the Warrens came in here. Now, the claims when they come, all of a sudden, like, they jump through the roof. So, Dan, I might be wrong in this. Maybe you know more, but like, an exorcism has to go through the Vatican.
It doesn't have to. Like, you don't.
I thought, like, if maybe that's
like,
just the movie.
I mean, it doesn't have to go through the Vatican. I mean, usually I'm pretty sure the Archbishop, like, in the area kind of has the whole say. It doesn't have to go through you don't have to send, word to the Vatican. You don't have to send like a request form to the Pope and be like, hey, we need to do an exorcism over there, and he's got to send it down through like a cardinal, through all those people. I'm pretty sure it just has to go through. Usually I think the bishop of the Archbishop of the area has to weigh in and pretty much assign, like, they do an assessment and then they have to assign, like, they'll usually assign a priest that they know or usually trust to carry out the actual exorcism.
Right.
So they convince. Let's get into the first exorcism. They hold an exorcism that. With what was the bit? Do you have bishop, the first bishop? Is it Robert?
Is it no Timothy Harrington?
Timothy,
right?
Yes. So they get him to come and look at this case serious enough that they decide.
I mean, his wasn't technically. It wasn't like they did the first exorcism with Bishop Timothy with Bishop Harrington, but it wasn't like a formal exorcism.
I feel like when you become an adult, you can no longer be called Timothy. You have to be a Tim.
You got
no grown man named Timothy.
I agree.
Like, I can't Timothy. I can't take him serious.
Let's just call him Bishop Harrington.
That's better.
So Bishop Harrington, like, when they brought him in, he was actually called in by the Catholic priest, Father Beardsley, who was familiar with Maurice's case at the time. And so he called in the bishop, and he came in, and he, they just talked about, he said he kind of just talked to him. The Warrens were given to kind of comment on how he gave off this kind of aura of just like, calm and soothing as I guess a bishop would. And he kind of just did this exorcism where it was just kind of, he just made up his mind. It was kind of like a snap, just being like, Maurice, I'm going to say a prayer for you. And he just began. And they said as soon as the prayer began, Maurice's face began to change. They said his forehead swelled. They remarked on his eyes seemed to take on a sadistic gleam. They even said that he, there was a change in his tone of voice to a kind of deep guttural sound. And they said that he's quoted as saying, I am in the depths of this man's soul. And the kind of growling and sputtering that kind of happened until he finished. And then after he had finished the prayer, Maurice seemed to kind of recover, become more of himself, and he said he asked for a cigarette, and him and the bishop had a smoke. Yes.
So if you're watching the live stream, we have a actual picture of what Maurice's face looked like when he was possessed. You can see it right there.
in that top right corner.
It's top right or just dead center?
Terrifying.
Take your pick.
Terrifying.
Right there.
No, but we actually have. So Dan, are you talking about the video? Is this the one where he's in the white shirt?
No, that's not. Nope, that's not the one.
That's not the same video.
That's not the same one. That's the first one.
So that's the first one. The second one
is the first.
The second one where he's in the chair.
No, that's the third one.
That's the third one where he's wiping his face.
So they had another exorcism. Because this one kind of it lasted for some time. They said that he kind of it lasted for a little bit, but then kind of this stuff kind of the occurrences kind of abated, and then later things started happening again. And so before the bishop Bishop Harrington, same guy, he's still in contact with them. Before he would kind of authorize or consider doing a formal exorcism, he sent 2 Catholic lay healers to meet with Father Beardsley, who had contacted him prior to this, and meet with the Theríaults. So these were Jesse Curtis and Mike Logia, I'm not sure. And they kind of did the same thing. They had Maurice sit in a chair, and they positioned themselves on either side of him, and each placed a hand on his head and began praying. And so they said the same thing happened. His body stiffened. It seemed like he was going through some kind of electric shock, and they said he had some sort of booming laughter while they were doing this, and even some sort of blood and what they say is a substance that seemed similar to yellow glue was just coming out of his mouth. So there you get your projectile vomiting.
Why is
check that off the box.
What's the theory on this substance, this yellow substance? Like, is it just fucking bile leaking out of your whole body, or what?
It could be whatever. It could be concentrated evil. Like, I don't know.
It's what's the shit when the ghosts leave behind ectoplasm?
Ectoplasm, yeah.
The ectoplasm oozing.
Well,
the demon breaks into our reality and causes this yellow vomit.
The other problem that I have with it as well is that they say like all these people witness it, but all the accounts, there's like the church has really distanced themselves from this. So like you can't get their accounts of it. So the only accounts are Nancy, and then Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are just recounting what Nancy has told them. So it's not like they're like, yeah, we had tons of witnesses, but it's like, well, the church doesn't really say that they were part of the second one. Like the story is that, but like this church has now, since this all has gone down, the church has distanced themselves from this story.
Right. So, eventually down the road, Bishop Harrington suggested that Father Delaney go ahead and perform, the actual exorcism. But Father Delaney didn't really call it an exorcism. He seemed to refer to it as a deliverance. And this was like this was the third one, but not like an official exorcism. So they said it was almost an exact replay of what happened when the lay healers had come. So,
right.
Stiffening of the body, blood and yellow substance coming out of his mouth. And, but they said that no sound came from Maurice during this time. He just afterwards, Maurice seemed just exhausted and depressed. So
no levitation,
as you would be.
No levitation
at this point. I don't think so. So finally, this would be, I guess, the official exorcism was carried out by Bishop Robert McKenna of
With
Our
the
Lady
help of Ed and Lorraine, of course.
Right.
They got called. You got to call in the big guns.
What makes this one official? Was it sponsored by Pepsi or something like that?
Well, this is of Our Lady, the Rosary Chapel. Bishop Robert McKenna was actually going to use what's known as the Roman Ritual, which is the actual text that the Catholic Church uses for exorcism. So he was ready for this, and he even fasted. I believe he had fasted, I guess it's something like 20 days before doing this, before you're supposed to fast for 20 days before you carry out this exorcism. So they went in hard for the final.
You're supposed to fast long enough to the point where you get so hypoglycemic you start seeing things and actually believe that the fucking exorcism's real.
It's when you're ready to cross over into the spirit world.
And you're probably fucking starving, and that's what that fucking yellow liquid is. Your fucking body's eating itself from the inside.
Well, no. That's
bile.
Bishop.
No,
The
Maurice
bishop
isn't.
has to fast. Not
Maurice. Maurice is just sounds like Maurice has got a nasty chest infection.
Wait.
And he's bringing up some nasty lump.
So the priest has to fast to the point they're at hallucination, and then they perform.
No, like they just have to fast for
20 days. Dude, 20 days? Fuck yeah! I'd be. Everybody would look like a fucking cheeseburger after 20 days.
I mean, it's not like 20 days. I mean, I think it's pretty much from sun up to sundown. Like it's that kind of fast. Like it's not the whole thing.
No, it's only one day.
Not one day. I'm just saying that like he fasted before he did this. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on the number. I'm not 100% sure on the number of days, but he did fast before he decided to perform this. Kind of took all the precautions. Went through the full preparations for this exorcism. So this was the official one.
This was number 2 then.
No, this was the final one.
This was the final one.
This is the final one, sponsored by Pepsi.
Okay,
Right.
so this is the one. This is the one sponsored by Pepsi.
Right, and this is the one that they have the video of that Zell just put up.
So he's sitting in a chair. He's got wrinkly face. It's kind of blurry.
Right. So the Warrens and we're here. We're present at this, and so we're their assistants and operating the cameras and things like this. So you had
and Nancy.
Right.
Now right here.
Right.
What are they trying to zoom in here? They're like, have it fucking. Is that?
Well, they're saying that prior to this, like his face was normal, and at this point, right here, what you're seeing is that they said that part of his face, like his face, took on this kind of change, and then on here, they said that the film stock's bad. It's not great. So they claimed that his skin started to kind of bubble, and they said that if you can see the dark line on the side of his forehead there, they said that it was actually like a fissure of some type,
kind of
had opened up on the side of his head, like it started to crack open.
Just looks like a really, really bad wrinkle.
Could be,
but it's true. You only notice it on the one side of his face,
right? But that's what they said they observed.
He doesn't look right.
Yeah, he looks like a fucked up old man. And here's the thing that really bugs me with this exorcism is, so like the footage is like no more than a minute and a half or whatever. There's not a lot of it. Before this, Ed and Lorraine claimed that like they had to pull off his shoes. He was having all these like dogma, or what is it called with the stigma? What's that term called? Stigmata. All like the wounds were forming and his shoes filled up with blood and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, where's the footage of that?
Yeah, where's the good? Show us the good stuff.
Like, you know what I mean? Like one shot of that, like boom.
This is all we got. This is a shot of his full. Now his whole face looks a little more fucked up. You can't really see his eyes. Yeah.
And then before the camera started rolling, they said that he was speaking Latin backwards, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm assuming they would, because if someone just started speaking Latin backwards, one of you guys, I would have no idea you're speaking Latin backwards.
Yeah.
Ever. I'd just be like, I don't know what the fuck he's saying, let alone Latin. I wouldn't be like, that sounds Latin, but backwards. So like, I would have to assume that they had a recording and they're like, maybe play that back. They're like, oh my God, it's Latin. Where's
Whoa.
that recording? I was like, I don't believe that shit at all.
Where's the good shit?
Like and then they were like, the smell that he was giving off, he smelled so bad and he was crazy, and like, look how dark his face are and his eyes. I was like, that doesn't look like skin boiling. It looks like just like I've seen older people that have lived on the streets who have shit like that. It's just like bumpy skin, like fucking just a dark complexion. And especially if he's in the thralls of mental illness at all, maybe he's not showering. Maybe he's, you know what I mean? Like sweating profusely because he's having these delusions. So yeah, like maybe that's where the smell comes from. But this video, I watch this video and I try. These are things I love. These videos of like proof. This is proof of a possession. And I look at that video and they're like, look at the fissure open up. I'm like, I don't see it.
What
I do
fissure?
not. What
do we have any? Do we have any before and after pictures though? Like
no,
do
they don't.
If his face goes back to normal after this, do we know?
This whole case is pretty thin, gotta say. When you're searching, like you search for stuff, a lot of stuff, like there's not a lot of quality sources.
Yeah, the pretty much the only sources you have to go on is the actual book, which is, I read it in preparation for this case, Satan's Harvest, which was co-authored by the Warrens and Theríault himself. So. And it also says
he went on a book tour.
And it says it's a reconstruction. It doesn't say it's exactly what happened, because there are parts in the book that are written where the authors wouldn't have been around for anything. It's like it was just moments between where Maurice was either by himself or Maurice and Nancy were together by themselves, and you can really you wouldn't be able to confirm, you wouldn't be able to kind of corroborate anything story.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting one day for one of these pricks to not have a fucking book deal, man. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
Well, it's one, like, he suffered from, like, he had full on demonic possession, he says, but yeah, he can still travel around and sell books.
Well, I know, because he was the demons have been exorcised.
Well, he was able to travel books until he died.
Well, and so okay, let's go through that.
This exorcism worked.
Did it?
Worked-ish
for a bit. It worked long enough to go on a tour.
The demon poured out of his fucking little, crater on his face and left.
Yeah, I didn't. From what I was reading in the Satan's Harvest stuff, I didn't read anything about him going on the tour of the book tour specifically. But after this exorcism, the last one, the final one, they kind of said that Maurice became more of himself. He seemed nicer, kinder than he had been before. Not as abusive.
A little boost in the bank account will do that for somebody.
So he was doing pretty good. Of course, the Warrens stayed in contact with Theríault because they were like, there's like with these kinds of things, there's always a chance of relapse with demonic possession cases and things like that.
Sorry, I think you mean sequels. There's always a chance of sequels.
And so, it came down to eventually that, one day, I believe, it was preceded by Maurice marching down to the local police station, and he had told them, this was February 24th, 1985. He walked into the Warren Police Department requesting that the department take all of his rifles that he owned.
That's right.
And if he came in to ask for the firearms, they were not to give them to him because he wouldn't be himself, or he might not be himself. That didn't go all too well, because I believe at one point, he was, they reported that he had been waiting at some point, like back home. He ended up waiting in the basement, right?
Well, no, they split up first. So after that, the marching of the guns, right around that time, he's also charged for, again, sexual misconduct with one of his underage stepdaughters. I'm guessing it's Nancy's daughter. So they split up. Oh. Nancy cites that he's too violent. He's going up and downs. He's volatile. And now there's these allegations of sexual misconduct. They were stayed, or they were not approved, but that's not because they didn't have a case, or people say, it's because he claimed it was the demons that made him do it. No, they dropped the charges because the witness basically was refusing to testify and was being very difficult in the case. So if you don't have your number one witness, your star witness, going to testify, it's very hard, especially on those kind of accusations. It's really comes down to like what they say. So needless to say, home life for Maurice now is not good. So he's now been thrown out of his house. And like Dan said, he gave his guns to the police. But again, that's just in the book. I was like, I couldn't find any substantiated claims of like any of the sheriffs or the cops that are verifying this. And if he's accused of a violent crime, I don't know how it works in the States. Yeah. And it's 85, but here, if you're accused of violent crime and stuff, a lot of conditions that you'll be put on are a no weapons condition right away. Doesn't matter if you used a weapon or not.
Him and Nancy were separated, but they were, I believe she had already filed for divorce as well.
Yeah.
So shit was not going good.
My point is that they claim that they went and turned in the guns, but I'm not sure that if the charge of the sexual misconduct is before this incident, I'm not entirely convinced that they weren't required by law to turn in the guns because of having committed the allegations of being on probation, and he's a previous offender, right? from 1976 where he served 5 years probation, that there wouldn't be some sort of weapons ban or something. I don't know that, but that's where my mind goes to after I've heard all these other things, the truth being stretched. But, however, like Dan said, this takes a dark turn. Living on his own, Maurice one day breaks back into his old house and hides in the basement with a shotgun.
That he should have turned in.
He waits for... I guess so. It doesn't really say.
I think he might have actually borrowed it from somebody. Like I think there was I can't remember. I think I read something where he had actually borrowed it from somebody. He had turned in his guns, but he borrowed that shotgun from another person. Can
you imagine old Frenchie comes banging on your door? Oh, hey man, you're the guy from the National Enquirer that was possessed by a demon. Yeah, that's me. Can I borrow a shotgun? Yeah, sure, man. Why not?
Here you go.
I might have been watching another cold case.
Either way, he had a shotgun.
Anyways, he had a shotgun.
He had a shotgun.
Yeah, so he waits there. When Nancy comes home, he grabs her. A struggle ensues. He tries to point the gun at her. She fights it away and runs out the door. He shoots through the wall and hits her on the left side, injuring her. Not life-threatening, but serious injuries. He then goes outside, grabs her from the ground, drags her back inside, sits her down at the dining table, sits across from her, and says, like, you're not going to forget this. And then turns the gun on himself and shoots himself in the head.
He said you will remember this forever.
Yeah, you'll remember this forever. That's what it was. And shoots himself in the head.
And what does she say? What does she say?
She says,
after he fucking
"Amen."
shoots himself?
Oh, man. Dude, it's such like when I was like, I didn't believe that. And I actually watched an interview of her saying that because I was like, that's some action movie shit at the end of one of these fucking movies where you're like, oh man, like the tormented wife after all this exorcism. And I looked up in the interview. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Some motherfuckers always be trying to ice skate uphill.
It's been revoked. I am the law.
I didn't believe it. And then I watched an interview where she was like, when the second he pulled the trigger, it's all I could say was, amen. And I was like, and then she said that he was like fighting with the gun, like he didn't want to shoot himself in the head. And I was like, okay, I think Nancy's a terrible person. And this is just popping up. Maybe she's not. Maybe this was terrible. But I was like, that's like an action movie. Amen. I don't believe it. It doesn't seem believable to me.
Well, and like, not to mention too, like there was a struggle ensued, and this guy's supposed to be possessed by a fucking demon, making him super strong. And you really think this lady could get away from a fucking super strong demon?
No, this is what I read: is that when he said "Amen," then he proceeded to struggle with the shotgun, and ended up putting it in his mouth and killed himself.
Oh shit! He one-lined himself.
That's what I read. Is that not right?
No, she said it. No, she said it. As soon as he shot himself,
sure she said it too.
She said, "Amen." As soon as he shot himself. That's what she said.
After he shot. After she.
And I'm like,
okay.
I don't think. I mean, it's a tough one because I hope I never see someone shoot themselves, but I can't imagine being like, "Amen." After I just can't believe.
Oh man,
it's like to me. It's like I instantly go to like she's been kind of a little bit brainwashed by the Warrens, right? And their movie deals and shit. And she goes, "What would be the best finish to this story that I could sell and make a quick buck?" I know. I said, I looked at him in the eye and he pulled the trigger and I said, "Amen."
They were church going people.
It's true. Like, someone died right in front of you. If you were a churchgoer, you probably said,
yeah. What else would you say? No. Like either she was praying in her head or whatever. Because thinking this dude's gonna shoot him.
Listen, I haven't seen someone do it right in front of my fucking eyes, but I've seen the aftermath. I've smelt it. I've been in the presence of it, and you're not gonna fucking sit there cool as cucumbers, being like,
"Oh man."
Oh man!
I figured she would scream and run the fuck out of there.
But here, actually, not to mention this chick has been fucking shot in the arm.
Yeah,
and yeah. Let's not forget about that.
No, I don't. This is stupid.
It's it also.
This is stupid, Angie.
Well, it's weird because like when you read this and you look at it, you go, "None of this now sounds real," but then you go, Maurice really killed himself in front of Nancy by all accounts. But like every other aspect, I feel like it's someone trying to sell this story and manipulate this story for money.
Maybe he got Kurt Cobained. Maybe fucking Nancy pulled the trigger. You don't know.
I don't think that. I think what we have. I think this case, to me, boils down to someone with some serious childhood trauma that has developed some serious mental health issues that at the time in the mid 80s we were not good at diagnosing.
Well, here, like I can riff on that just a little bit. So they say there was a research done by the University of Liverpool that found that children who experience severe trauma were 3 times as likely to suffer from schizophrenia.
Just 3 times?
Okay. 3 times, which is pretty substantial.
So wait,
right?
what's the rate of schizophrenia?
Pardon me?
What are the chances of schizophrenia normally to be 3 times more likely?
Oh, good question. Not near close to that much, I'd imagine. But
anyways,
basically, this guy, like you can sit there and look at the symptoms of a demonic possessions, and right away you look at stuff like hysteria, mania, psychosis, epilepsy, and the major one's schizophrenia. The definitions, like textbook of what this guy's experiencing: abnormal behavior, strange speech, decreased ability to understand reality, fits of rage, false beliefs, unclear or confused thinking, hearing voices that don't exist, reduced social engagement and emotional expression, and lack of motivation.
I'd say that's pretty much right across the board.
So in my mind, there's a few things here. Maurice is a down on his luck, shitty human being. He's known to be a diddler. He's been making bad decisions his entire life. The guy didn't really have a good chance at life to begin with, the way he was treated growing up, and watched The Exorcist and decided to try and fucking make a buck on this situation. Or this guy had some extreme childhood traumas, was an undiagnosed schizophrenic, and there's this thing called esoteric causality, which refers to a mental patient's belief that an external force is or partially responsible for their mental illness and behavior.
So if you believe it.
So they completely believe that whatever's causing them to be this way is done to some type of external force. There was a study done in 1988 where the researchers sought to determine the percentage of patients who suffer from mental illness that actually believe in this esoteric causation, and fucking 54.9% in 1988 believed in esoteric causality.
Which I would totally be on board with, but the thing is that from the reports, he never claimed to have been under the influence of a malevolent force. Like he never said he never stooped to the devil made me do it.
No. But here, and Andrew, just touching on your point about schizophrenia, they say it's 10%. So in childhood trauma, that would bring it up to 30%. So substantial increase.
Wait, 10% of children get schizophrenia?
The chance of having, never mind. Sorry. If you're brother or sister, then you have a chance. What are the odds of developing?
Well, yeah, but here,
1%.
Not only brother and sister, but I guarantee you his father was suffering from fucking the exact same shit he was.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, 100%. Right? But I think it's a little more stark and sinister. I think that he was schizophrenic, undiagnosed, all these years. That's why his marriages failed and his relationships failed. And then he met Nancy, and I think Nancy was a little bit of a religious kook. And I think Nancy's the one that started this possession, right? You have to be possessed. Like that's her logical explanation for what's happening to him.
That's good.
As he's slipping into, and the reason I say this is because previously I can't really discuss, but I've had the opportunity to talk with some people who have some serious mental health issues and have done some serious crimes. And the waves they go through, like you'll be talking to a normal person, just completely normal, and in half an hour, something just sets them off, and they're
gone.
It's like they're in Wonderland. It's crazy, and I've seen that firsthand. So I think that's what was happening to Maurice. But then he met Ed and Lorraine, right? And they brought in, and now you have all these people like enabling his mental health. right? Because they're like almost perpetuating it, right? So now he's in the thralls of it, and that's why I think he comes to and he's kind of normal, and he has bouts where he's normal. And now you have these people perpetuating this, like enabling him almost, right? They're getting fucking priests to come and do exercises on him. Like, I can't imagine with someone with that kind of mental health, like buying into that fantasy, what the damage of that could be. But I bet it's crazy. Like, I bet if you were like to told a doctor, like, hey, do you have any schizophrenia? Like, this is what I want to do with them. They'd be like, are you fucking kidding? Like, you can't do that with like like you can't play into the delusions.
Yeah.
So I think that's what was happening. And I think that sent him off I think that just made him worse than ever, because it was giving a voice to his mental health issues, like his schizophrenia. And it was like, then he started to buy into that possession thing in his psychosis, which led him to kill Nancy.
What did Sid and Nancy teach us? You can't trust a Nancy.
But
you just can't.
That's what I think. I think he was exploited back when they didn't really know a lot about mental health issues, and he was just exploited because.
I really like that theory.
Well, those two wrote how many books? You said 9 books.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, and the fact that even when the case of the chick got shot in the arm and got her fucking ex-husband blowing his head off right in front of her, and she was still willing to fucking, make it somewhat theatrical and sell it. Like, it just goes to show you this lady's twisted, man.
Well, you would think that any lady who would fall for this man, like, obviously she would know him, she would know his antics early on. Maybe not necessarily like the full schizophrenic, but like you would see like the little fits of rage here and there. Like she would kind of know who she was, or who he was. So,
well, he was somewhat famous, right?
Yeah. So like, yeah, she knew what she was getting into. So it's probably not as much of a shock when he ended up killing himself in the end.
I don't know. I don't think he was actually famous when him and Nancy met.
Not when they met.
It's famous after. That's why I'm saying I think it was a slow build, and like he's in the thralls of mental health. They're going to doctors, and when he's at doctors, maybe he's not having, he's not in the thralls of psychosis, because I bet it's impossible to get him there when he's in these psychotic episodes. He's not just going to be like, yeah, sure, let's go to the doctor. So it's probably when he's normal, he goes and they're like, he's doing this and this. And they're like, you're fine. You seem fine. Because he probably did.
I'll tell you right now, trying to corral somebody in fucking psychosis in the back of an ambulance. Holy shit. 9 times out of 10, they have to be sedated.
They get super
That's why I'm thinking like.
They have, oh, fuck yeah. Remember that guy I was telling you about that was eating his clothes not too long ago? That guy, oh man, like that guy took 8 of us to try and pin him down to sedate him.
That's fucking crazy.
Well, it's nuts what these people are capable of.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's where I think on it. That's
as far like when I think of demonic possession, like it's a fun horror movie topic. But I'm like, when they start saying like, oh, a cross came like scratched into his thing, or like a upside down cross bulged out of his belly, you're like, why cross? Why does it got to go like Christianity? There's like 1,000 religions. Why are like do demons in different religions, like these things, like in every different religions that have different like sacred artifacts, are those things in their like demonic possessions getting like grounded, like cut into their bodies, or how does it work?
Well, I mean, there are different kind of they're around the world, there are different types of like spirit possessions, but usually you could probably either chalk it up to epilepsy or psychosis or things like that. Most of the common symptoms that you see of spirit possession are, chills, uncontrollable shaking, things like that.
Tonic-colonic fucking movements.
Right. So you just get like, there's, I think really Christian, the Christian idea of possession is usually the ones that you see with like marks on there's ones that's associated with kind of like Christian iconography, either scratched into the
that's what I mean,
the flesh or things like that. You don't really get you don't get the stigmatas, you get that kind of stuff in other that I've come across. Most of the spirit possessions around the world is just that kind of a change in personality. So yeah, schizophrenia could kind of be a diagnosis for some of them.
Right. So that's what I mean though. Like, so in Christianity, it's this spiritual possession. They call it demonic possession, and they associate rosary and holy water. But really, you can take that same. That's just the names given to it. It's really around the world. It's just like spiritual. You could say spiritual possession is really just schizophrenia, and then depending on religion, is where all that kind of stuff comes from. Because it's not. If it was really the cross helped the demon, you would hear about the cross all over the world, and you do not.
Right. So yeah, like I mean, that's a good point. So you got to get they do have in other religions, there are types of exorcisms or purifications, those kind of things to get the spirits out, and a lot of the it's all the same thing. It's like whatever method or technique you're using to exorcise the demons will trigger some sort of reaction in the person who is possessed.
I'm getting corrected here. I said Christian when I should have said Catholic. Catholic is the rosary. They all use the cross, so let's not get crazy here, people.
God,
I'm
don't use the C word.
One has a half-naked guy on it, the other one doesn't.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, my religious stance has been well rooted in previous episodes, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's again, I go back to like they claim to have all these eyewitnesses, but all the witnesses are the people directly linked to profiting from this story being true. Right? Like it's Nancy, it's the Warrens, like anyone third party, like the cops, the cops involved, or he was like one of the cops was like, I don't believe that any of that was real. I think he was faking it and he was just a predator.
Mm-hmm.
Even his sister came out to say that it was bullshit.
Yeah,
all the priests that were involved that weren't on the payroll tried to distance themselves from it. Like it's just.
Yeah, let's get into his sister for a bit because she gets a lot of heat for coming out after he died and being like, he was just an actor, fucking con artist. Like the guy was just doing it for the money. And people are like, well, it's easy for her to say that now. And I'm like, yeah, because he's dead. 100%. That's why. Because he seems fucking crazy. It seems like he was having some major issues. And it's not like you're going to come out publicly and like say something because he's unbalanced. So you're probably scared.
Yeah.
Well, I think she made the right decision considering he went running around town with a fucking shotgun and tried to kill his ex-wife. So,
yeah.
So it's just
mental illness is no joke. It's no joke, and this stuff happens all the time and goes undiagnosed, and a lot of times it ends up.
Today we're way better.
Oh yeah, obviously way better now.
Yeah, there's way better.
I think the Catholic Church has definitely moved away from. Actually, you know what? I think it's actually like they had a point where they were very. Like exorcism had only kind of died out, and then probably the whole movie of the whole kind of exorcist craze when The Exorcist came out kind of brought it back. So it's they're definitely not like running out there doing exorcisms on every single person out there. They're a lot better at diagnosing. Like I said, they've become a lot better at diagnosing psychological problems or things like that.
Yeah, I mean,
even today, I shit you not, where you can still go to calls for status seizures and epileptics and have people sitting there being like, it's fine. They don't need to go to the hospital. We're praying for them. And you're just like, okay. I don't know. It's funny too, because like Dan was touching on earlier, but like epileptic seizures, like tonic-clonic movements, the contracting and the extending of the muscles, the foaming at the mouth,
arch their back and writhe around,
the contorting of the body. You know what I mean? Those are all textbook fucking movie scenes from a possession, and then you get this postictal period. Right, which could last anywhere from half an hour to fucking few hours following the seizure. Whereas this time where your brain is trying to reset and you're completely confused and disorientated. And a lot of times people don't know who they are, where they are, and they come up very angry. You know what I mean?
Swinging.
Which, again, come up. I've had my ass kicked a few times by postictal people. Like I'm not exaggerating. Like it's. I don't know. And then you look at. Go for it.
I've had that. A woman had a seizure in Save-On, and I just had first aid, and I got peed on. But when she woke up, she was like fighting with me. She was like, "Get off me! Get off me!" And I was like you've had a seizure. She didn't believe me and thought I was just like pinned her down to the ground.
That's a post-ictal period, man.
Yeah, it was weird.
Totally.
Crazy.
You're like trying to help, and they're like, "Nope, this never happened." Like, I don't believe you, you weirdo. I guess if I got up and saw that face too.
Yeah, I saw your face. And they're just like, you fucking weirdo, get off me.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any last thoughts on Maurice?
Maurice.
It was a tragic sequence of events of mental illness leading to almost a murder-suicide, but and then just a suicide.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed that we didn't touch on the fact that one time when he was possessed, the only thing he kept saying was, "I am what I am."
Yeah.
I am what I am. What's that song?
Well, that's fucking Popeye, man.
Popeye. That's what I thought when I read that too.
Yeah, he followed it by a
I am what I am. No,
and he crushed a fucking can of spinach through his pipe.
That didn't happen.
Could have.
It could have. I don't know. It wasn't in the book. That was a reconstruction and not a complete truthful event, but whatever.
Andrew, you were
sure you could write it in there. Why not?
Andrew, you were getting some good grills on the chat here about that mustache.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's good stuff.
Did you lose?
I don't know why you didn't extend it all the way out. Like, I don't know why you didn't like. It's
because I'm hoping before the end of November I can get a little twist going.
Ah, nice.
That's the plan.
Yeah, Andrew. Like, you know, like. You know,
it has to be able to fit our N95 masks. So if it extends, it doesn't. I don't get a proper seal. Yeah, this is as regulation as it gets.
All right. Well, nothing else on Maurice. Let's when you cue up the Randomatron, Zell, let's get a fan submission.
Randomatron. Here we go. Did you get it?
Yeah. Again, we've had so many fan submissions. I love it. The Randomatron's basically just running off fan send-ins now. If you want your story read, send it your story to us at alientheorist@gmail.com. In the subject line, say Randomatron story. And then don't forget to let me know if I can use your name or not. If you don't say so, my default is to not see your name.
Make it up.
This one's from Mary. That's not a real name. She's got two short stories here. It could, you know what? I could just say that. You have no idea. It's a real name. Maybe it's her real name. Maybe I'm doing the old double fake out. It's actually her name. You'll never know. My first story is about my first and only experience with a Ouija board. When I was 11 years old, a friend of mine and her older sister invited me to play with them using the board. Long story short, the board ended up disappearing. Exclamation mark.
Long story short.
I remember it being there 1 second. Disappearing. I said that because I was like, that's not where I thought that story was going to go. Just gone. Poof. I remember it being there 1 second, and I remember it was gone the next. We looked everywhere for it, and we couldn't find it. One of us had the idea to check in the basement. What we saw when we went down there is something I will never forget. I remember that their basement had about a foot of water in it because of a bad hurricane we had a few days prior, and the Ouija board was floating, face up on the water. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise it happened. Needless to say, I will never touch a Ouija board again in my life.
I wonder if the planchette was still on it. Ooh.
I should have.
Who in their right mind is like, Ouija board disappeared. It was here 1 second. Gone. Let's check the fucking basement. That's where you're gonna go.
Yeah, I'm going right to the basement.
Yeah.
No.
Trying to get trapped into a different realm or something down there.
I'd be like, fuck no. Burn the house down.
You know what? The Ouija board's just still too sore of a subject. I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, no
got nothing
spoilers.
to say.
Nothing followed you home. We
No
closed the
spoilers.
circle. It's fine.
No spoilers on the Ouija. It's out there.
You can listen to it on our Patreon if you haven't already got on it.
Fuck, that's weird.
That is,
Floating in the
Yeah, it's
floating
creepy.
down there.
it's freaky.
I guess. What happened to the planchette? Did you say it was just the Ouija board? I have questions.
She just said the Ouija board was face up. That's all she said.
Oh. Okay. What happened to the
Zell-
planchette? Because those
oh.
things are hard to find.
Yeah, it's gone. You can buy a new one for. I don't think Hasbro sells them individually, so you probably have to
No.
You gotta buy the whole package.
get a whole board
Oh,
again.
it sucks.
Zell, Theríault of the week. I got one.
You
That's
said
right.
you had a Theríault of the week up northern BC here somewhere.
Yeah, Northern BC, old coworker of mine, absolute beauty. Supported the show for a long time. So it's my good old buddy, David R. Hope you're listening to these and fighting those winter blues up north, fighting the good fight.
You're right.
North of the wall there.
Way north up there.
David R.
Nice.
What do we got for Patreoners? New Patreoners?
Yeah, we have quite a few because the last time we read was in Pod Week.
Ooh.
So,
I know we got tons.
Now we've got quite a bunch of people who were like, yeah, Pod Week.
Dan, do you have
That's
them
what I
up? You
wanna
want to
see.
read some?
I don't have it in front of me.
Rain, you have it up?
I do not know how to get to
Yes,
it.
I do. So we got Anya Palace. Hold on. Before I read the Patreons, this will be your last chance to get into December's meat draw, the monthly exclusive alien theorist
here.
draw.
While you say that, if you're listening to the live stream, yes. If you're listening to this on podcast, get in for January 1st.
Yeah, get in for January draw. So what it is this month, you're going to be getting a limited edition sweatshirt and David Sirignano's book, American Conspiracies and Cover-Ups, I think it was called, and some other secret stuff. That's $10 or more on Patreon. And that draw will happen early December for the first one. And that'll be every month going forward. So we got Jeffrey Wilcoxon, Ricky Anderson, Sharon Eastaway, Courtney Hurtlane, Firm Crustacean.
Not soft crustacean.
No,
Where
Firm
are you reading these
Crustacean. Jenna Roberts, Hallam Knight. I'm reading them off the site. What do you mean? Chris Spillane,
Okay. Whatever.
Colin Armstrong. Okay, you reread them. Am I reading the wrong ones?
Well, I don't know. You started on the list and then you skipped like most of them at the top.
Oh,
Keep
see,
going, just
mine
keep
doesn't
going.
have that. So
Just
you
keep
read.
going.
You read some then.
So you start with
No, I'm done
Anya
reading.
Palace, Ricky Anderson, Courtney Hurtline. Oh, okay. There we go. Just never mind. Then you said firm crustacean. 9.
Yeah.
Okay, you're good.
So all these people are getting double shutouts.
double shutouts. Keep going.
So are you good now? Okay.
Yeah.
Colin Armstrong, Chris Trevino, Megan Moog, Sandy Z,
Ah, it's my mom.
Seth. That's your mom.
My mom.
How much
She's
is she
no
giving
way
us?
she knows how to listen to any of this stuff.
How much is she giving us?
Cheap. She cheaped
I
out.
don't want to say.
She cheaped out.
Cheapo.
Mom.
No, she's getting our best value pledge.
It's true. Getting the best value.
Seth, NASA _Ken, Chris Backus, and I'm only going to do 2 more, Pat Lee and Phil Morton, and Condor Herring Trout. That's a good one.
Yeah, you got a different list.
Harry Chad.
You got a different list, but
Yeah.
that sounds right. Close enough. If we missed your name,
All
you
right.
signed up in the last 2 weeks, let us know.
Mm.
We'll get it back out there. Cool.
What else do we normally do? That's basically it. I can't read anything else.
Band of the week. This week I don't have I'm using band of the week is my band, Lucky Monkey. I haven't played a song of my band on the end of the podcast.
Is it a couple of monkeys?
Depends who you talk to. All depends who you talk to, Dan.
Victorines.
Stop giving this guy a shutout.
Can't help it.
This guy's nothing.
Couple monkeys.
Beaking us. Anyways, I'm going to play a song called, it's an older one of ours. It's called Run For Me. I'll play it at the end of the episode. Not a couple of monkeys. It's just called Lucky Monkey. Let's get that straight.
You should write a song called A Couple
Well,
of Monkeys.
maybe we will write a song called A Couple of Monkeys, but
That was pretty good.
anyways, look us up Spotify or anywhere you stream music. We would appreciate it. What else we got? I think that's it. That's a little slow start back into Afterpod week, but we got so much content built up. We're actually like weeks ahead, so I'm gonna have to double up episodes the next couple of weeks.
Special.
Extra
Christmas
content
miracle.
coming up. Or maybe I should save it for Christmas and just drop them all at once. We'll see.
Oh, well, yeah, then we'll see what happens. As we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
Peace.
Peace.
Swapping right on my heart now, baby. Everything you want is just a like away. You're swapping right on my love now, baby. You don't even know this little game we play. I'm gonna do what I want now, baby. Nothing that you say is gonna change my ways. So why don't you jump on now, baby? It's time to play this little game we play. Run from me, baby. Run from me now. Run from me, baby. Like you don't know how. Run from me, baby. Run from me now. Run from me, baby. Like you don't know how. This time I'm gonna get off now, baby. Everything I want is just a minute away. This time I'm gonna get on now, baby. I just relax and it'll all be okay. In time you're gonna get off now, baby. Once is not enough because a rain was a dream. In time you'll understand just why you chose to come and play this little game with me. Run from me, baby. Run from me now. Run from me, baby. Like you don't know how. Run from me, baby. Run from me now. Run from me, baby.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.